Okay, this is a very quick simulation of the circuit if you use an Arduino and use 2 pins to run the circuit. Now I'm powering this with LEDs, and so I have resistors in the circuit, and in your case you'll be powering 2 MOSFETs, one MOSFET for solenoid 1 and the other MOSFET for solenoid 2. All this will have to be adjusted accordingly because MOSFETs, you have to find the right MOSFETs for the power rating and everything that you need in a power supply you're using, etc. So this is just a programming tutorial more or less. First of all, let's get the wiring out of the way. We have a ground wire and a hot wire pulling off of the Arduino for this project. The ground wire goes to both of the potentiometers on terminal 3, and the hot wire goes to both potentiometers for terminal 1. The middle terminal is the sweep terminal, which is wired into the Arduino. This is a pink line and that's a blue line. The yellow wire is an output and the green wire is output. It's either on, which is 5 volts, or off, which is 0 volts on either one of those. So that's a digital out. Now, having said that, I have my analogs ran to my analog reads on this side, and my digitals ran to my digital lines on this side. Now, we're going to turn it on and watch it simulate and see how it works. As you can see, the two LEDs at this point are oscillating, one and then the other. And the different speeds are controlled by the knobs as requested. So if you adjust this one up, you notice that, wait for it to cycle, the green's staying on, it blinks over and comes back. So you'll call that, like, for instance, the load. And then if you want the delay, you adjust the bottom knob and that'll tell you how long the delay will be between the cycle recycling or looping back. So by adjusting the two knobs, you'll be able to get whatever rate and load speed you want. Move this down just a little bit and move this one up a little bit. Okay, now you can't see it cycling faster. Now, I'll give you a quick example of how I did this using code. Pull up the code editor and go into the beginning. To start things off, I set integers to the different pins and variables. So for instance, we have integer solenoid 1 and 2, and that's on pin 3 and 2. That's these two pins right here. And then you have integer load and time, and that's on the analog pins 1 and 2. So that would be these two analog pins right here. Then you set the variable time 0 and load 0 just so everything's set up at 0 when the program starts. That takes you on to the setup mode. We declare what pins we want to do what. In this case, we have our output pins for solenoid 1 and 2. That would be these right here. And our input pins for load and time. That would be these two pins right here. That begins our loop. First, we ask for a time, and we set that by the analog read time knob. That would be the bottom control knob, and we set it as whatever the value is on the bottom control knob here, if it's high or low or wherever it's at. Then we go and read the analog load knob, which is the top knob, this one up here, and do the same for it. At which point we start our electrical circuit, which is digital write solenoid 1 high. So that applies it to the yellow LED, I believe it is. And we make sure that the green LED is off, so we call for digital write solenoid 2, or in this case LED green, low, which would be no electricity going to it. Then we say we want it to wait for the amount that the time knob is, which should be the bottom one, times 5 in this case. So you can go up to approximately 5 seconds, more or less. This will have to be adjusted by yourself to get the exact amounts that you want, but I just chose 5 for both. And after it waits for the amount of time that the bottom knob is set for, then it'll continue on the loop, and it'll digital write solenoid 2, which was low, we're switching it to high, and solenoid 1, which was high, we're switching it to low. So we're inverting them. We're turning off to yellow and on to green. And then we're waiting for the digital load value of 1 times 5, so that would be the top knob. So that sets the delay from the top knob. The first part is for the delay off the bottom knob, and the second part is for the delay off the top knob. After that delay is met, it goes back to the beginning again, which would be right here in this loop, and it reads the knobs again, and then it switches the lights, or the solenoids in your case, on and off, and then goes through the process and just continues the loop here over and over again. Now, this is obviously crude, and there's a whole bunch of better ways of doing it, I'm sure, in code, but this is very simple, basic coding. So if you ever have to adjust something, you can, and if the knobs you have are not sensitive enough or are too sensitive, so you can adjust the multiplication times right here in the 5. You could change it to higher or lower amounts to get the setup that you want. I hope this gives you an example of how you can use an Arduino for the purposes that you're looking for. And there it is cycling again. And I've thrown this on a breadboard and it worked fine for me, but it doesn't work that way for everybody. So that's why everything's kind of set up for variables. And I hope this helps you, and you have yourself a very fine day.